Hi, friends. Hello. It's me, your friend Melanie Rose, and I'm going to sit here for a minute and wait to see who pops on before we get started on this week's astrology. Thank you for being here. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope this winter season is treating you well. It certainly seems a little bit frightening out there with some flooding in some places and a lot of snow coming down in other places, a lot of cold weather. So I hope that you're all just staying warm and keeping safe at this time. The week ahead brings some challenges and opportunities to adjust our settings just in time for winter solstice next Sunday. Yay! Hello, my friends. This is Mel Rose. I am here to chat about the coming week's astrology. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in on your regular current astrology. Delighted. I am delighted to be here with you. Today is Sunday, December 14, 2025. The next 7 days is the final week of the sun in Sagittarius 2025. The season of lights is leading us into the heart of winter, and that reminds us to grab warmth where we can find it and spread kindness where we see that it is needed. Sagittarius transforms knowing into action. That's the magic of this time. Once you know what is needed, you can take action on it. The moon is in Libra today, but moving on into Scorpio this evening. So we end the week feeling for the balance in these relationships that we rely on for support. That can be, your relationships are at home or in the workplace, in your social life, making judgments about what we do on our end of the scales in these relationships to keep things appropriately light, right? And then we enter the week on an introspective vibration. Moon in Scorpio causes us to inspect our personal ambitions and motivations for all that spreading of good cheer that we're doing. The spirit of the season really asks that we come with pure intentions, sharing from the heart, because it's healing to bring joy. Okay, friends, the sky has been active the past several weeks and it continues to be so. Today, Mars moves on into Capricorn a week ahead of the sun doing the same thing. So that's going to happen next week. The sun will move into Capricorn. So Mars is there scouting out the land of ambition, and Mars is happiest with mountains to climb and problems to solve. It likes to work. Get ready to put in some sweat of the brow labor, friends. We've all got big things in the works. Today and the end of the week come with a blend of energies. Some seem to want to help things go easily, while others are going to require our attention to details and the ability to adjust. I just think that starting it off with Mars going on into Capricorn is really a good sense of motivation and willingness to put the labor in that we need to. Okay, the sun is doing a lot this week. That relates to our work, social, and civic lives where we act out our values and ambitions. And the hard part is around Tuesday the 16th when the sun in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces. A surprising insight might arise for us. We get a peek into the final dissolving bits of an old standby, something we have been relying upon. And it can be seriously disappointing or even upsetting. The moon on this day is a waning crescent in Scorpio. And in the work, social, and civic life, my guidance would be to hash it out in the most honest terms that you can. So, yeah, Tuesday, maybe not very fun. Around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with the sun squaring Saturn, for the last time, Saturn in Pisces, sun squaring Saturn in Pisces. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that disappointment. The moon goes on into Sagittarius on Wednesday the 17th, and the personal life vibe shifts from sort of inward looking with Scorpio to outward going, which aligns well with the sun and the outer life vibe also being in Sagittarius. Venus is doing a lot this week. That's our personal set of values and valuables running just a few days behind the sun, like Mars is just a few days ahead of the sun. The Venus is just a few days behind the sun, so the sun's sort of riding in between this Venus and Mars energy. Venus is repeating a lot of the same conversations the sun is having that Mars has just had, but from a more personal perspective of what it is that we desire to get. And one bright spot of the week is on Thursday, the 18th, when Venus in Sagittarius trines Chiron and Aries. These are both in fire signs, shining a light on the defenses we've raised and lowered over the years, opening us to more transformative healing experiences, wanting to burn off the old so that we can shine through with the new. This Friday, the 19th, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. Having a new moon on the 29th degree of Sagittarius is a potent, powerful moment for setting our mark, getting our target in our sights and preparing to release that arrow. If you have a target in mind, this new moon on Friday is for getting laser focused on what that target is. And then just a couple of hours later, the moon will pass up the sun and proceed on into Capricorn, where it joins Mars, urging us to make an effort. The other hard part comes on Saturday the 20th, when Venus in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces. Like I said, Venus is coming through and making some of those same conversations that the sun just did. This is the reassessment of those old values we had that said we needed something that can no longer be relied upon. Remember, on Tuesday, we have this thing that it's like an old standby, and it feels like something that we can rely on, something we have been relying on, and it sort of falls out from under us. It shows us that we can't rely on that. So we come into Saturday of this coming week, sort of reassessing what those values meant to us, and getting a new idea about what it is that we can rely on. Hopefully, now that those old standbys are not really there for us. That same day, the sun will square Neptune. Both planets are at 29 degrees of their mutable signs. And this comes across to me as a hazard light for smoke and fog, friends. Low visibility, especially in the work, social, and civic life. This is the last time these two will have this conversation for many, many years to come, okay? So it may be a little bit intense on Saturday with Venus squaring Saturn and also Sun squaring Neptune. It can be sort of hard to see what it is we're trying to get at, and we're feeling some disappointment about not being able to rely on certain things that we might have before been able to rely on. So this coming Saturday, good or bad, this whole week, but especially this Saturday, good or bad, everything is just not as it seems, friends, okay? If things aren't adding up, that means you're missing some information. Don't act without readiness, okay? Be ready before you act. And then on Sunday the 21st, that's the other bright side of the week. So we come through the two hard parts. We've got a little bit of sun shining in the middle there. But on the 21st, Sunday, it's the winter solstice, and it's the day that the sun moves on into Capricorn, joining the moon and Mars. So that brings our awareness in the work, social, and civic life around to the ambitions that we have, what we're dedicated to achieving, to completing, and what we know we have to do to get there. We celebrate the winter solstice, as it is the longest night of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. And in the weeks following the solstice, we'll see the days begin to grow longer again, promising another spring and summer, which is one of the hopeful parts of this season. But this is just the beginning of winter, friends. It will be a while before the warmth returns. And that is it for the coming week's astrology, friends. Thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do. It is your participation that helps us provide this content free of charge. And this is the part of the show on Sundays when we get into our 2-card tarot reading for the coming week. You can see my desk is shifting around a little bit with me as I pick up my cards here. So we've got basically, well, we've got a few kind of major events happening this week. Mars goes into Capricorn, then the sun follows Mars into Capricorn. We've got some squares and some adjustment energies this week, and a couple of trines, really trying to make things easy. But it's going to be one of those weeks where perseverance is required, where knowing what your goals are and staying on task is still required. Last week we had some of this bumpiness in the road as well, and that had a lot to do with Mars squaring Saturn. Mars squared Saturn, and my boss showed up at my work to get work from me. So that was kind of one of those Mars squaring Saturn kind of moments. But also Mars was squaring Saturn, and Jennifer and I had to replace our car. We ran into some car trouble that we couldn't surmount or live with, so we had to go and replace our car, and that's always a challenging thing to do, isn't it? Okay, so now the Sun is squaring Saturn this week, and Venus is going to square Saturn this week. So we're still having those square Saturn feelings, and that is just challenging. It's getting stopped, and it's a reminder that you need to know what your goals are, keep your eyes on the prize, and stay determined to get there, okay? Mars in Capricorn says, oh yeah, absolutely, we've got this. We can do this, okay? So I want to bring the two-card reading down to Winter Solstice and the new moon in Sagittarius. These two happening very close together this year. You know, it's really like Winter Solstice is almost like the new moon of the sun for the year. It's the longest day and the shortest night. It's the least amount of sun we see throughout the year is during this time of year, and especially right around the solstice. So Winter Solstice is a big deal. And the new moon in Sagittarius always happens right around the winter solstice somewhere. So this is literally just the nights are very long, and they're not lit up by the moon right now. So it can seem like a much colder, darker time of year than maybe sometimes we see it to be. So I'm going to start with the new moon in Sagittarius. New moon in Sagittarius really, you know, a new moon is a time to come back to ourselves, to come back to the present, the here and now, stop pushing things away. We're not really working on bringing anything in yet. We're just going to sit peacefully with ourselves and assess what we have so that then we can begin to imagine what we need to get next. So this new moon in Sagittarius is mutable fire. It's very outgoing. It's very social. It's very interested in learning, having new experiences. So let's see what kind of things we're going to discover about the coming weeks for ourselves when we come back to this new moon, to this moment of rest between putting things away and taking new things on, okay? With Sagittarius being that outgoing fire sign. Oh, look at that. We have the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune says sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but usually when it shows up in a reading, it says, you know, fortune is spinning in our favor. Things are bound to go well for us in the near future, in the coming days. You know, also the new moon and the Wheel of Fortune are both reminders that all of this stuff that we're experiencing is part of a cycle. We are all living through smaller cycles and larger cycles. They have to do with not just our own experience and our own bodies and our own lives, but with the communities we have around us and the whole world. In fact, just we are living through these cycles together. Right now, the part of the cycle that we're in is like, oh, the nights are long and dark. It's cold out there, and the Sagittarius new moon and the Sagittarius sun are still inviting us to get out and spread cheer and spread warmth and make sure that we know what's going on in the world around us so that we can act on what's going on in the world around us. Okay, so that's the good fortune card, the Wheel of Fortune, showing up for that new moon in Sagittarius. I'm going to say, you know, that's really good. That's really good energy for manifesting. It's really good energy for really getting with yourself on the day of that new moon, or the 3 days of that new moon, and journaling out what it is that you would like to create for yourself in the coming future, thinking about the future, because that Wheel of Fortune is spinning in your favor. So you know, think up fortunate things for yourself, okay? And then coming up on Saturday, is it Saturday or is it Sunday? Coming up on Sunday, we have the winter solstice, and the sun moves on into Capricorn. So this is really the beginning of the winter time, which we've had a really cold winter so far. Here in Kansas City, Missouri, we've had a pretty cold autumn, I should say, the last couple of weeks. And now we're looking for winter to to hit, right? And it's really hitting east of us and north of us, and even north and west of us. We're seeing, flooding up in Washington and Oregon. The weather cycle is really upon us this season. So please, again, stay safe, stay warm. These are the days, this final week before we get into Capricorn, when you can, sort of finalize your winterization of your own homes, and make sure that the people that you want to be safe are safe in their homes as well. All right, and so coming up for this Sunday and the winter solstice, moving into the new season, what is the guidance for the sun in Capricorn, and how we celebrate the winter solstice? Six of Cups. Well, Jennifer and I were just talking about this card a few minutes ago, so that's nice that it came up. The Six of Cups is a card that really talks about nostalgia. Cups is about the way things feel, not necessarily what happened. This is a card about remembrance and looking back. And, it's interesting. This card has a blend of energies about it. You've got, kids, it looks like maybe picking flowers or gathering flowers or sharing flowers with one another. But then you see that, they're wearing coats and hoods. So it's actually, was it cold outside, or were the flowers blooming? We don't really remember. We just remember things being good. We remember things being rosy. We remember having good times. And so, yes, it's appropriate at this time of year. This is the solstice coming up. It's, Christmas coming up. I believe we're celebrating Hanukkah right now. Not I, because I don't celebrate Hanukkah, but the people who do are celebrating Hanukkah right now. We've got all of these holiday traditions that are going on, and it is a time when we get together with people that we've known for a long time and remember the good old days, and maybe try to get some of that good cheer back with one another. And it's important to keep in mind that we don't remember things the way everybody else remembers them necessarily. Okay, so when you go, hey, you remember that time you and I blah 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 blah, and somebody doesn't remember it, or they remember it completely differently from you, don't be too surprised when that happens. Okay, I really see this as a time when we are starting to get out there and learn to talk with people again, learn to discuss with people again what it is that's on our minds, what it is we value, and why we value it. We pulled back for a long time. There have been a lot of strange things happening in the political world and in the geopolitical world, and there's been a lot of war and conflict, and things it's hard to get behind what's happening there. And so it's been a little bit difficult around the holidays to spend time with our uncles and our aunties and our cousins sometimes. But I really think that this is a time when we're coming back and we're saying, hey, you're still my family. You are still my friends. These are still the people that I love and I value. And I want you to know that I love and I value you. And I'm going to share my other values with you as well, because I don't think that we're really so far apart on these things. So I would say, when it comes to spending time with family as the sun has just entered Capricorn, around the winter solstice, around Christmas, um, you know, like, we got to take the good where we can find it, and sort of pull back where we reach the boundary, or where we reach the hard feelings, okay, so that we can build trust, keep continuing to build a bond of trust between us and those people, and perhaps those people where the bond of trust has uh, you know, disintegrated a little bit, okay? So the 2-card reading for today. Good fortune is on our side, okay? Fortune is spinning in our favor. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. So if you're on top right now, you can look forward to not being on top in a little while. But if you're on the bottom right now, you can look forward to being on top pretty soon. And right now is a great time to be reflecting on the cycles that we are all living in and living through. It is a great time to be reflecting on how those cycles affect not only ourselves, but our loved ones, the people that we keep close, the people that we are in partnership with. This is it's a struggly week. We've got those squares to Saturn really, really inviting us to to get serious, to be drawn to things that are responsible, to pay attention to what has to be done, what is foundational. So sometimes that can feel a little bit like a psychic version of stubbing your toe or kicking rocks where you didn't intend to. I love that song by Jack White where he says, I was kicking a box that I thought was empty, but there was something sharp inside. Okay. So there's really something like that about this week. So go with the flow. Good fortune is on our side. We do have a couple of beautiful trines this week. So where you see a good opportunity to improve your situation, a good opportunity to connect with somebody in a positive way, go ahead and take it. But understand that there are going to be these stop signs and obstacles throughout the week, and we just have to sort of remember the good times, remember the good in ourselves, remember the good in others that are around us. Okay, friends? Okay, so that is the week ahead in astrology and our 2-card reading for the week. Thank you so much for being here, friends. Thank you for joining me for Astro Insights today. You can join me here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for Astro Insights. And then, of course, we'll put it up later for everybody else to see. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.